I'm here with Tamara Chalabi, who has just written a new book called Late for Tea at the Deer Palace, which is a book about her family in Iraq. Tamara is the daughter of a very well-known Iraqi politician, Ahmed Chalabi. Grew up in exile, I believe, born in Beirut and then raised in London. What is the Deer Palace?
A house that belonged to my great-grandfather in Baghdad. It doesn't exist anymore today, but it's called the Deer Palace because it had a big statue of a deer in the front garden. And a lot of the stories in this book are set in the Deer Palace.
And this book is really a book about your roots, isn't it? This is an exploration of the history of your family.
Yes, I mean, I felt like I needed to connect with this country that I inherited only through the memories of my family. I wanted to also tell the story of Iraq through a human perspective, to intertwine the public history with the private stories of my family. So
they were a modern, really in many ways, modern Shiite family.
Yeah, they were, but they were, I think, modern with the times, meaning that they were within the context of their society. They were embracing modernity at a pace that was comfortable for them within the context of Iraq.
What happened to the family? Were they, when Saddam Hussein and the Baathists took power in Iraq, what happened to your family?
Well, I mean, there was as sure you know, a revolution in 1958 which overthrew the monarchy and actually killed the royal family in a very brutal way. And my family, among many others, were implicated.
What was it like working, sort of living with your father while he was such a prominent member of the opposition?
It was always very dramatic because he, for a long period, was living in northern Iraq, in the Kurdish area during the no-fly zone period, I mean, throughout the 90s. And so the element of danger was always very prominent. Because I grew up in such a household where, in fact, the entire family was very preoccupied with the politics of Iraq and what was going on with Saddam and the wars and the human rights abuses and so on. So, I mean, Saddam kind of was this huge figure in my life as a child, this kind of big monster that just, you know, didn't go away.
When the United States finally went in 2003, of course, your father was given much of the credit for getting us in there.
The fact that one man could be accused of taking a whole country, and one as big and powerful as the United States, to war is an incredibly naive view, and I just think it's spun out of control. It's become this urban myth. And that people just love to keep repeating without much validation.
And you went back with your father in 2003 after the invasion, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I went as opposed to, because it was I hadn't been to Baghdad before, so it was my.
And what was it like going to Baghdad in those days after the invasion?
It was very daunting. It was a very uncertain time, and we were very much on our own, contrary to again a lot of what people have said. I mean, we drove from the south of Iraq all the way to Baghdad in this big convoy with other Iraqis and members of the opposition that were coming back. And one of the biggest fears on that day, I remember, was being attacked by the Marines, because you know, they would be worried about such a huge convoy, and so we were as worried about the American reaction to getting to Baghdad as much as the uncertainty of what was going to be in Baghdad.
Did you go back to the family house?
I found this, you know, large house that was entirely abandoned, very dirty, empty. There was nothing, no semblance of any human life. And then suddenly I would go down into the basement and I see in this empty kitchen only one object, which was a teapot. It was completely random, and I felt I'd arrived late for this tea party. But also because, you know, the Iraq I grew up hearing about was a very, very different Iraq to the one that we've become so used to hearing about, and so on. And it was an Iraq that was vibrant, that was, you know, had a destination, going places, that was, believe it or not, carefree. It was one of the leading countries in the Arab world, and I felt that I'd also arrived late for that party. So that's partly why the book is called Late for Tea at the Deer Palace.